we find clothing companies that use good quality fabrics and treat their workers fairly?
This is a perfect time to talk about greenwashing, Ryan.
Yeah.
What is greenwashing?
Oh, it's a company. It makes me think of like Seventh Generation, for example. Like they do a good job of doing unscented things. They try to use, chemicals that are good for the environment, but it's a gimmick. It's not like an actual company that is really worried about having a positive impact on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
They use the green as a marketing ploy, essentially. So is that what you mean by greenwashing?
Yeah, so let's be clear. No company worries about the environment because companies can't worry, right?
Right.
And so there may be someone at the head of a company,
Mm-hmm.
like a B corporation, which we talked about on the minimal episode. They're on the public episode there. A B corporation does have some sort of social responsibility,
Yeah.
and they want to have a social and environmental positive effect, right? So greenwashing, here's the specific definition. Greenwashing is the process of conveying a false impression or providing misleading information about how a company's products are more environmentally sound. Greenwashing is considered an unsubstantiated claim to deceive customers into believing that a company's products are more environmentally friendly than what they are.
I wear contacts, and there's a brand that I've stopped buying, but I was buying it because of the greenwashing. Like they do a great job of marketing. You're like, oh, I'm somehow helping the environment by buying this brand of contact cleaner, contact solution. And now I just do the off-brand stuff because it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, I mean, it's very easy to fall for.
And so we can talk about, well, how do we find companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're getting back to Michelle's question, clothing companies in particular.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I do. So most of my t-shirts are purchased from a company called LA Apparel.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they're manufactured in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
which incorporates certain regulations that are more helpful for workers, but also they pay way above minimum wage. They're manufactured here in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding this isn't greenwashing, it seems to me that the owner does care about paying a living wage to his workers. And even if it is used solely as a marketing ploy, look how great we treat our employees. Okay,
Great.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And quite often in their marketing emails and stuff, they often feature their employees who are in. So you see there's a bit of transparency there.
Mm.
You get to see the employees who are in the factory sewing, because 94% of garment manufacturers in the United States still work in sweatshop-like conditions.
That's crazy.
So just because something is manufactured in the USA doesn't mean that it's
Yeah.
inherently good or sustainable, right?
Right.
The most sustainable item is the item that you leave on the shelf. And so if I have to take an item off the shelf and bring it home with me, then yes, I often do consider where else is this money going? It's going to the workers.
Yeah.
It's going for socially conscious values that align with my own values.
Yeah. I love what you kind of said there about, the environmentally conscious decision is to buy less clothing. It's not about finding a company where I can buy all the clothing I want and they're doing the best you don't need all that clothing. I use Son of a Tailor. They tailor the shirts. I know that they're very conscious with sourcing material. I know that they pay their workers well. I forget do you know what country they're based out of?
I don't.
But it's like a country that really values its workforce and goes out of its way to give them good working conditions. But that's it. It's that one brand. I don't buy a million of them. I just buy what I need. But it's not like I use that company as an excuse to just buy as many clothing items as I want.
Yeah, and one might even argue that, let's say you bought from one of these fast fashion places, right?
Yeah.
Like Zara or Topshop or H&M,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had bought 5 black shirts from them
Mm-hmm.
and then wore them until they wore out,
Yeah.
it's probably better than buying 100 shirts from the most sustainable company, right?
Yeah.
And so keeping in mind, the quantity of consumption impacts the environment just as much as the quality of the things that we are buying.
Yeah. 100%.
Now, in terms of looking for companies that treat their employees fairly, the most popular website for that is a website called Glassdoor. So I have an article here from fairy god boss, which I'll put a link to this article in the show notes. It's called 11 Sites Where You Can Find Employee Reviews. So if you want to know who's treating their employees fairly, you can go to Glassdoor. There's a few other websites you can go to as well, like Indeed or Vault or Career Bliss. Glassdoor is the most popular one, but
where employees review their employers.
That's right.
Wow.
Now, you have to take that with a grain of salt as well, because quite often it's disgruntled employees who feel compelled to go on there.
Yeah, it makes me think of, I forget the website it was, but where students review their professors.
Yes.
And like that helped out a lot, like when I was going to college and like picking out classes and picking out the professors. And that's awesome that they do that with companies. That's cool.
Yeah, so you can check that out. I'll put a link to that article in the show notes. Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalist Private Podcast, available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.